finish a term and go and rest. So, be as it may, even as this issue is interrelated with the political issues in Israel and the rest, we should also know that these people have fought dirty with the Palestinians and never want the West Bank and some other parcels of the Palestinians to exist. And Iran, whether we have a blue game or what, the shares, these nations are not just what you said, it's a self-centered, one unique Islamic nation. No. The numbers of Muslims in Iran are just about 56 to 60% of Iranians. The remaining ones are not Muslims. So we should not go religion. And if you come to Israel, Israelis cannot tell me that they are Christians. In no way not Christians.
That's right.
So if you look at it, it's not really centralized religiously, even as we in Africa, mostly Nigerians, take Israelis as Christians. We should know and understand that they are not Christians. So it was not a religion template. It's built on personal benefits and gains from these nations. The part of America as what America has done is just to tell the whole world that we have played a role when this happened. But I want to ask a question. If not for only Nigeria, which nation will have uranium deposit in its possession and will have no nuclear armament? Because for my study in Nigeria, for example, the uranium in Taraba to Gombe, down to some part of Bauchi, can fetch Nigeria over 10 trillion to 70 trillion dollars.
That's on the economic side.
Yes, that is Nigeria. So will you have such deposit, then now sell the same uranium to some people who will utilize it against you in the name that there is a treaty or a treaty that says you cannot develop uranium nuclear armaments, whereas you can get electricity from nuclear, you can get every other benefit from nuclear. So you want me to depend on your technology, why my own materials are being used to develop your technology, and I buy from you. Even from the cell phones you buy are uranium materials. So who will fail in technology? Why you benefit from such technology? That is the question. So when I get to a point when people asked me questions and said, why must Iran fraud the treaty? Then the question is that why must Iran sell their uranium to a foreign body who will develop that against them? Just as I have said, if Nigeria, for example, has uranium in Taraba to Gombe and some part of Bauchi, and this can fetch between 7 to whatever amount in dollars, in trillions, why must I sell this to a foreign nation to my own detriment, whereas I can still use the same uranium deposit to develop my own technology? So I am a consuming country having materials for my own development. Why do we say the materials are nearest to the market and production? So if I am getting my uranium, why can't I use it? So also Iran has deposit of uranium, a lot of deposit of uranium, and they are using it to their own benefit. If you know that the nuclear armaments and weapons already developed by American are about 5,000 plus warheads, whereas I don't think Iran has up to 200 or up to 300 warheads. So if you look at all these, put them together, you find out that yes, Iran is stronger in nuclear armament more than Israel. But Israel has a strong security-based, well-trained external and internal security intelligence body from the Mossad. American also has a lot of based security-wise organized by the CIA. Somebody asked me a question from the East and said he's from so place and he don't see why the police and this security this. I said, okay, if you go into your own village, so place, so village, and he said, how did you know? I said, you have something that looks like a farm there. You say yes, or a little factory. You say yes. Who are the people managing it? The CIAs. How many
in some parts of Nigeria?
Yes. So how many SSS or NIA personnel knows that they are CIA? That is a CIA base. None.
So is that an undercover operation? Or something?
Yes. They have more information about our country than we. And that is what happens all over the world. They are everywhere. They are blacks, white, color, whatever. And we don't have the mechanisms to detect who they are. And that is what happens in Iran. So, Iran, who were the people that attacked Iran first? Israel did. What is the offense of Iran?
They say they are siding with, the Hamas. They are giving them resources.
How did you know they are siding Hamas? How?
You don't think they probably have intel? They probably have intel to that effect or something.
It is just a provocative attack. We went to South Africa when there were apartheid, for example. We wasted over $60-something billion in South Africa. Nigeria did. Yes.
As a big brother.
Not as a big, yes, if you call it a big brother, I agreed. But who attacked us?
So you're saying we had no business doing that?
We have no business doing that. You can't be living in poverty and be playing a game of big brothers. As our people are being harassed in South Africa, what can we do? Can we say because we invested 60-something billion in South Africa? How much did we invest in Liberia, in Sierra Leone? How many Nigerians are there? You don't, as a government is a business. Governance is a business. So I will not come to aid you without receiving back.
So nothing goes for free?
Nothing. Is there free meal in Freetown? So America will not back Israel if there is no benefit from Israel. All the intellectual properties of Israel goes back to America.
Okay, so let's just introduce a new perspective, Prof. Excuse me. For example, now, just yesterday, Iran has also hit back at Israel. And some people will say, well, maybe we are even now. After all, the US hit Iran, Iran hit Israel. But where do you see all of this going?
You see, this is what is happening. The hitting on Iran is a provocation to touch North Korea. And when North Korea reacts, you should know that the mighty ones like China is going to react.
How about Russia?
Russia is going to be the last point.
Why is that? Because of Donald Trump's relationship with Putin?
Very good. That is one point. And let me tell you, America is going to withdraw.
At some point?
Not at a, they are going to withdraw. Because one, America is facing serious economic issues right now. Two, the assembly, which is the Senate and the House of Representatives or whatever house it is.
That's the U.S. Congress now.
The U.S. Congress are not going to approve to this. And Donald Trump quickly struck to also make Benjamin Netanyahu to believe that they are behind him. So it's a tactical advice from the national security body of America that you quickly hit now so that Israel will be comfortable that we are in support of them. So when the Congress will raise the issue up, it will not be the Congress.
I've done my best.
I've done what I am supposed to do. I've tried to convince the Congress, and I cannot override the Congress.
Sorry, Prof, I'm just curious for a second. If the same Congress could approve, several tranches of funding, including equipment and armaments for Zelensky in Ukraine, why would the rule be different when it comes to Israel and the entire Middle East?
You should know that this is a new government, and they have a new work path.
So the thinking is
that you also know that the economy, American economy, has never been like this all this while. As we are speaking now, by the time the former president hand over to Trump, I think the debt index was about 12 to 13 trillion dollars. As we are talking, the debt index of American is already rushing to about 40 trillion.
Between when Biden left and when Trump
took
over?
Yes.
And this is a matter of a few months.
Yes. So if you watch that and if you look at it very seriously, you find out that America is facing a lot of economic issues that are hidden from the public. So if you know what they are hidden, what is hidden from the public and what they want the public to know, this is not the time, a good time for Americans to go into any war. They tactically not want to wash their dirty linings economically to the public when they say they withdraw the U.S. aid. They withdraw the U.S. aid not because they want to withdraw the U.S. aid. They withdraw the U.S. aid because they know that America is running into economic collusion and they are collapsing seriously. So in that doing, they are only proving that they are still a superpower, not wanting the world to know that they are not as they believe they were yesterday.
Interesting. But let's, let's look at this whole thing from a different angle altogether. You can't talk about, tension between Israel and Iran and not have it reverberate across the entire Middle East. I mean, that whole Arab world, as we often call it. Some people say from the way it's going, Israel is becoming even more provocative now, so much so that there's a chance the neighboring countries will begin to take side with Iran, and of course, in light of the Gaza development and issues like that. Is that your thoughts?
You see, over time when Israel was playing the kind of the cartridge game with other nations in Arab, they actually took for granted most of the Arab nations, not knowing that nations like Iran, Turkey, and the rest will spring up, knowing that they also have some materials to do themselves, and they have gone into a lot of research templates. And this research template has yielded science, engineering, and technology, has made them build their military, build their security bases, build their technology, and build their infrastructure. So they are no longer looking at Israel as that big threat
To them.
to them. They are only being quiet and silent to see when these kind of issues will come up. Israel is a very small nation, very, very small nation, that playing the game they were playing without accommodating their neighbor was a very good suicide for Israel. Over time, that is the lapses that Israel was having. They know they were small, they know they were not backed, because you cannot say, okay, Israel is 50% Muslims or 50% Christian, so that the other nations will embrace maybe the Christians or embrace the Islam and said, okay, because of Islam, because they are Muslims, because they are Christians, we should always at least play that brotherly feud with them. They refuse to associate with the other nation. Instead, they parallel themselves into what we call, I don't want to go into psychology, but let's go into security, what we call global disintegration. They disintegrate themselves, separate themselves from other nations.
Yes.
And it was, the resultant effect is what we are seeing today. And not only that, they secluded themselves from other parents of organizations. They don't belong to any national organization where other nations has to speak. Playing the game of we can stand our chances.
All right, Prof, we're going to take a quick break at this point. Quite an interesting development we're seeing in the Middle East and how much it is impacting conversations around global diplomacy, economy, and so on and so forth. Economy is important because we are hearing now that, well, in disguise, this could be more like a blessing for Nigeria, that the prices of crude will shoot up on account of this heat that was pulled on Iraq just yesterday by the United States. But beyond the economic blessing, so to speak, that comes with it, how much more trouble is the Middle East and indeed the world will be in going forward? We'll find out when we return from this short break. Please stay with us.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics. And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest. The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
All right, thank you for staying with us, everyone. So, Prof, let's look at what all of this means going forward now. Because whether you like it or not, you said the U.S. will pull out at some point by your own assessment. But whether the U.S. pulls out or not, the U.K. is now saying this is the best time to de-escalate. But we also understand that all is not very well on the ground in Iran, that there are those people who are also against this government under Ayatollah Khamenei. Let's talk about domestic, or if you like, internal issues that may be shaping this war as it stands right now.
You know, all over the years, the CIA and American operatives on diplomatic line has tried to penetrate the Iraqi security line on process of actually changing the scape of things in Iran. And so that they have not been able to penetrate all this while. Trying to do that is just to make sure they plant one of theirs in the link of things in Iran. If you think this will be an opportunity for them to do that or achieve that, I will not say they are going to get it, and I will not say they will not get it. But then, what rank or route are they following to get it achieved? That will be very, very serious issue, because the leader of Iran is the Islamic leader of the nation.
Right.
And the most populous religion in Iran is Islam. And it will be very, very difficult for them to achieve that, because after the Iraqi issue, Iran has prepared itself and their security architecture has changed over time. And I can tell you for free that they change their security language every 2 years. Iran changed their security language
For security reasons, I guess.
Yes, every 2 years. And sometimes not even up to 2 years. So if you are watching very well, Nigerians don't even have a security language. My problem is African, mostly. We are not prepared. We are not ready. Even with the tale of things today now, we are not ready.
So you're saying Iran does not have a standard language, if you like, some sort of lingua franca?
No, security languages are different.
Okay,
from the normal language.
Okay, from the civic language.
Yes. We are not even so my problem is African. The African security system is not wired yet. Nigeria is not even in the starting point. So where are we, even as people are saying that this could lead to the Third World War? To me, it's not going to lead to any Third World War. But are we prepared for the crisis? We are not. Are we ready? We are not. Have we sensitized our people? No. Have we given orientation, the primary orientation to our people in case of any eventuality? No. We are waiting and watching. To us, it's a primary issue of Iran and Israel. How does that affect us? Security is not an issue of I am a security chief. It's an issue of tactical strategies and operations, administration and management. So if the administrative arms are not there, what role will diplomacy play? Diplomacy will only play a role when conflict resolutions, crisis management are in tandem with the rules of your country and the international engagements or laws. So if we are thinking that we are going to diplomacy is going to play a key role, what is our primary involvement? And if we are looking at the primary involvement, we should also look at the secondary issues.
Which are what?
On how to, if the primary involvement engagement is not solving the solution, we must have a secondary template that we fall back on. In fact, in security, you are supposed to have, this is the first segment, the primary, the secondary, up to the fifth segment. In case you apply conflict resolution and it didn't work, crisis management did not work, diplomacy did not work, iterative engagement did not work, strategic management did not work, then what other option did you have? You don't just go to war because war is expensive and costly.
But do these countries don't realize that, or is it a matter of whatever is working not is working well? If they realize war is costly, why would they? For example, I mean, just for perspective, some persons have been talking on social media saying that, look, Iran is not where it should be economically. So why is it pursuing nuclear ambition as against empowering its people socially and economically?
Okay, if you say so, will I, because I am not economically standing, allow somebody to continue to threaten me in my house every day when I have my cutlass and my knife in case I am overpowered? This is just no issue. I have uranium in my house, in my country. That is the position of Iran.
And I want to use it.
I can develop my nuclear weapons without no external intrusion.
But the Western world says that
then I'm coming.
You cannot trust the leadership of Iran to not use it against the world. They even argue that's the reason Donald Trump had to take a preemptive measure.
You are saying Donald Trump, if to the best of my knowledge, Americans don't have uranium.
Yeah, they have nuclear weapon.
Yes, they have 5,000 something warheads. So what are you telling me? You that have no uranium, you have nuclear weapons. You have nuclear armaments. I have uranium, you are telling me there is a threat somewhere, you cannot trust me. Why should I trust you?
Okay, let's talk about deals, Prof. The U.S. government, of course, that was in the absence of Trump being the president, had made a deal with Iran, which some person said was the best. And we all thought the whole world would go back to bed and sleep. But then Trump comes, and then things changes, and then he says, well, I'm making another deal to Iran. They had better accept it. What do you think about these two deals? Let's start with the first one, which was made, I guess, under former President Barack Obama.
If I have a deal with Iran, what is the deal?
Well, I think the U.S. is calling that short.
So if we are making a deal of benefits and you are benefiting from my deal, I am not gaining, what do you think I should do?
But the Iranian government did accept the other deal before now.
Yes, they accept the deal. It is nothing to write an agreement. And if you write an agreement, and I am asking the agreement to be revoked, or there should be an addendum to the agreement, will you say no?
It depends on whether there's a clause.
An agreement.
Whether there's a clause to that effect.
No, it is a council. It is a council. I've cried over this studio years, some time ago, when I said we have an agreement with Shell, Royal Dutch Shell.
Right.
So many years ago, going to about 70-something years ago. And up to today, there is no addendum to that agreement. And Shell has used that agreement against us. Are you saying agreement does not expire? Or there must not be call for a forum for an addendum?
Well, I feel it's the Nigerian government that should answer that question. Really.
So, that is the same thing. I have a right to call for a referendum to say this agreement that we had cannot longer go on. Why did you have provisional engagement in jobs? You said this is provisional appointment later, and you are under probation for some period. Why didn't you say you are coming to work here and you must stay here for 35 years of your life till you leave? Because the other person has a fundamental right to say, my job here is done. I am going. That is the terms. So you won't impose your agreement on me when it is nothing to do with me. A society, a nation, a country has nothing to do with me as a leader of that country. Most of the agreements we are having, if we sign all the agreements in the world by Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is not binding on the next person coming or the country. And that is why we have the National Assembly. They can invoke any law to say, no, this is not working. And it is binding. So you go back to the drawing board, look at the dotted areas, and go on. That is the way to go. But when you come and say, no, we have a deal, we have an agreement, the agreement lasts forever. So if you have an agreement that our crude oil, for example, is going to be sold at $10, and crude oil is $150, the agreement should still stand that it should be $10. So it is an agreement that cannot withstand time, because time changes. Things changes. The economic dynamics of yesterday is not the economic dynamics of today. The technological dynamics of yesterday is not the technological dynamics of today. The engineering template and management of yesterday is not the same thing today. The science of yesterday is not the science of today. The medicine of yesterday is not the medicine of today.
Okay, let's tie these things up real quick, Prof. Do you think the United Nations can wade into this matter, intervene on some level, and be able to, if you like, help to recalibrate the relationship amongst the nations of the Middle East, especially as it has to do with this tension between Iran and Israel?
I will say this from my open mind. If I am a leader of any nation, I will excuse myself out of the United Nations, because the United Nations is not playing the role they are supposed to play over time.
Do you think the United Nations has overstayed its welcome? I mean, with regards to this conversation?
Very well. Because you cannot have a United Nation that is not united. You cannot have a United Nation where you appoint some people to United Nations Security Council, where some nations and some even continent are not members of such council. It is already a known for some people who may be thinking alike. So if we want justification, if we want being united, then we should know that it is not about the United Nations. The United Nations is not playing, is playing a lame game. You shouldn't tell me somebody is more superior than the other. So the issue of superiority and inferiority is being played out in the United Nations. To me, if I am leading any nation, I will excuse myself out of the United Nations. Straightforward. Because there is no benefit to the average black man from the United Nations.
I think the conversation around the UN is quite a complex one, because there are those who argue that, well, the UN is not serving the purpose for which it was set up in the first instance. I think
that is why I said I will excuse myself from the United Nations.
Why are these countries? I mean, Africa has been complaining about having a permanent seat on the UN Security Council. Why complain for this long when you know you have the option of walking out the door?
Yes, you see, the problem with Africans is that a lot of people who are leaders of Africa don't even know the African history. And they don't even know their domain. They don't even know where to give service to and where not to give service. So in a serious thinking of I must be a leader, you have no reason to have anything to drop. In a debate, you must have an upper hand. You must have a reason why you want to excuse yourself. You must have a reason why you know that you have been marginalized. You can't just go to any forum and said, today I've excused myself from this forum without giving tangible reasons. You can't start discussing your own people when you don't know their history. You can't discuss people when you don't know the pains and the tragedies and the tragic system of those people. You don't go to forums and discuss your people when you don't have any index to show what your people are going through. So we don't have our own personal environment. There are questions you throw to leaders in Africa today, and they will be looking at each other because they don't even know where to start answering you.
I think you and I will have to talk about all of these multilateral institutions at some point, whether it's the United Nations, the African Union, or even the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, but quite a lot to unbundle on the program. I'd like to say a big thank you to you, Professor, for coming on the program today.
Thank you very much.
We'll be talking with Professor Ibrahim Abubakar, is Global Television in-house political and security analyst, helping us to find perspectives and context with regards to this tension that has moved now from, as it sees, the Middle East to the western part of the world. That again has been accentuated by the strikes that the US actually did make on Iranian nuclear sites yesterday. We're taking a quick break shortly. My colleague Jumai Manson will be here to talk about the International Widows Day and how we can help the widow to lead, regardless of the loss she has suffered. All of that coming shortly. Please do stay with us.
Do you know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to global television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest. And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning. Do you know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to global television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest. And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning. All right, you're welcome back. And is the second segment of Global Morning when it comes to the discuss of the day. And like I mentioned earlier on in the program, today is International Widows Day. It's been celebrated every 23rd of June. And the theme today is all about empower her from loss to leadership. And today we're going to take it in a new dimension. I will be speaking with a very special guest, and we'll be looking at from grief to growth. And it's a widow's guide to smart money moves. Yes, most of the problems of widowhood is that spending and finances. And I'm not doing this alone. I have a very special guest. She is Amanda George. She is a financial literacy and personal development coach, and she is live right here with me in the studio. How are you doing, Amanda?
I'm very well, Dubai.
It's great to have you in the program.
Thank you. And
well done.
Glad to be here.
Thank you for making out time.
It's my pleasure. Trust me.
Now, looking at this critically, we're looking at from grief to growth. Now, talking about a widow's guide to smart money moves. Of course, we know some of the challenges individuals suffer when it comes to widowhood is the fact that she needs money for that security. She needs money to take care of her children if she has any. She needs money to get a roof over her head if she doesn't have at all, or she has to deal with in-laws and problems that accompanies widowhood, the struggle and all of that. Now, this topic, you said smart money moves. Now, what's that all about when it comes to a widow who is listening to you and doesn't even know where to start from, or spends without keeping records or accounts, or things that, okay, if I spend, it doesn't really matter, it's small, it doesn't amount to anything, but it amounts to something. So how do I go about smart money moves, and it's a widow who is listening right now?
Intelligent question, Jumai. The truth of the matter is that this is something that nobody planned for. Widowhood is something that you just find yourself in. Unfortunately, a lot of us have not been trained financially, right? So we go to school, we learn all the courses that we've learned. For those who didn't, go as far, it's not just something that it's in the curriculum. So it's tough to know exactly what to do as when to do it for a lot of people. So for a widow who's listening, making smart financial moves means that you need to be able to sit down and know what your money is saying, know where your husband left off, and then be able to then take that information that you have and then launch yourself into the next phase of your life, because the next phase is without him. For some women, the men did everything as much as buy groceries, right?
Yeah, true.
And so here you are with no one doing any of the financial, and somehow in Africa it's just like like the account is left for the man, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so here you are, a couple of years later, you're having to deal with all of this by yourself. The truth is, it's important to sit back and then start to find out, where am I? So do we owe people? What do we own, right? And in Africa, ownership of things, that's another program entirely, Junai, because the truth is, then relatives come in, then all kinds of things begin to happen. The things that you thought were yours just seem to not be yours anymore, because you've had siblings and relatives clamoring for things like that. So it's important to know what you own. It's important to know what you owe, and then what your next steps should be.
But I want to ask, a widow who is out there who owns practically nothing, who has to start from the barest minimum.
Yeah.
Of course, maybe she had a lot when her husband was alive, and then the next thing you know, she's stripped off of every single thing. And then you mentioned something, you said who we owe, what we own, and all of that. And she owns nothing. How does she start to that financial freedom, to get that stability in life?
The first thing to do is to sit down and be truthful to yourself. Having nothing doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to get to where you want it to be in life, right? So it's to sit down, because one of the things that grief does is that it leaves us in despair. So you're like, I don't know how to do this, I don't know what to do, and then there's a lot of crying and all of that. But after all that has been done, it's important to sit down and tell yourself the truth, and then determine to start. I think the first thing is in the mind. Mindset is extremely important. Being able to determine that, you know what, yes, this is where I am, but I am not going to remain here. I am going to go forward. When you found that out, it doesn't matter if it is 1 naira or a million, billion dollars or whatever it is.
I
The first
understand.
thing is to take steps to budget your finances. So usually when I mention budget, a lot of people just zip up and say, yeah, this one is not for me. But don't go yet, just hang in.
Okay.
Wait. Everyone can budget, right? Yes, everyone can put aside something for a specific reason, right? We find that we actually do this, but a lot of the times we do it after the fact. You know that time when you had some money come in and maybe someone, gifted you some money. Maybe the siblings are nice enough, they've decided to, give a particular amount of money to you. Maybe you even find out that, there's some little monies coming in here and there. And then at some point we say, wait, I had all of this money, where did it go, right? And then you're thinking, I gave this for school fees, I gave this for, that's you actually budgeting. But that's after the money. So it's important to...
The money has been spent.
Has been spent, right?
Okay.
Yes. So it's important to budget. Tell your money where to go, even if it's not a regular salary, even if it is something that, people are just helping you buy along the way. So if you take a percentage, I think we also call it the envelope system, budgeting system. If you take a percentage of what you have and allocate it to whatever, so you have to eat, if you have children, the children have to go to school, if you have a business, your business has to grow, right? You also are a human being, so you need to take care of yourself, right? Because it's important. If you're not okay, if you're sick, if you're sickly, not doing well, the tendency is that every other thing will fall apart, right? So you also have to take care of yourself. So it's up to you to determine a specific percentage of whatever amount of money comes to you, and then you allocate that whatever money comes. So let's say you got 1,000 naira, and you decided that 50% of every money you get goes to feeding. So that means that you're going to keep 500 naira for food, right? And let's say you said that 20% would go for the children, maybe their school fee or whatever. That means that 200 naira from that money would go into that particular envelope, save, colo, whatever it is that you want to use. And let's say you decided that 5% of whatever comes to you is something that you would use for yourself. Because one thing that comes with widowhood is a lot of guilt about taking care of yourself, because there's this feeling that there isn't even enough. And now your mother, your father, and probably uncle and auntie to some people as well. So there's the feeling of, oh no, let me just do this, and then we forget ourselves. So it's important to set aside something for yourself as well.
No matter how small.
No matter how small. It adds up. That's the beauty about setting aside. It adds up.
But Amanda, for a widow out there who is wondering and saying to herself, she wants that financial freedom, but it's too small. How will it get by? And then she wants to start a business. And you're saying if you get 1,000 naira, you can save half of it. How long does she have to save to get enough to start that business to kickstart life?
Unfortunately, I cannot say how long. But let me tell you what happens with money. As the first thing that happens when you start to keep aside money is that you start to gain confidence. You start to gain some trust in yourself. You start to build enthusiasm. You can see the future better, right? And so just keep at it, and then give yourself, depending on how much it is that is coming in, give yourself a timeline. Let's say a year. Let's say 2 years, because one of the things that happens when we're in situations like this is that we need to get up, and we need to get up now. What usually happens with being in such a hurry is that we tend to make mistakes. Yeah. And so we may fall prey to scammers. We may fall prey to people who are just waiting to take our monies away from us. We may fall prey, we may just end up investing in something that we found out that we didn't have the passion to drive, right? And so you want to allow yourself some time, number one, to grieve, Number two, to build confidence in yourself. And what I do know that does this is you being able to save. Just looking at that little money grow every time you add money to it is something that gives you confidence. And then, you know, like a little child who falls and then tries to stand up again, she'll sit there and cry for a bit, but she'll try again, right? And so when she does get up and takes the first few steps, you see the smile on her face.
Very true.
You know, that kind of thing. So what happens is that as the money builds, then you can see and you're happy. You then have some confidence to be able to take the next steps. I want to believe that while you're saving, you're planning, right? So, okay, so this money is not for business. You should be specific about the kind of,
Priorities.
the business you want to do, and you know, it has to be very specific, has to be measurable. You have to know that this business is something that you want to attain. For the start, maybe you want to have a business, a restaurant business, right? And then you want it to be like really fabulous and have
Like the eateries that you see.
Exactly. Your money, if you're saving every day, may not take you to that eatery then, but the truth remains that businesses scale, right? And so you may not start with the eatery that you see and you really like. You may start with just delivery from home. As soon as you start something, then some more income is coming in, and you're still saving, and you're still believing in your dreams and expecting that your dreams will happen, right? And so what happens is that you'll be able to move your business from phase to phase. It's important because now you're doing the work of two people, and you have a lot more responsibility to handle. If you take on a business at the scale that is a little more overwhelming, you may not be able to see it through.
The individual might crash.
Yes. And so it's important to scale. Start from a little and then go on to the next and next.
I like the fact that you do not despise little beginnings, because some individuals despise little beginnings. Now let's look at, I like the topic, it says grief to growth. Now talking about going out to borrow. Now a lot of widows, to just get by, they go and they borrow. Can you borrow and start a business?
It's a tough question. Now, in normal business practices, borrowing to start a business is not a bad thing.
Okay.
Right? Because you can see that there is prospects, and this business should be able to pay that loan. However, I am usually very weary to advise, like you're just getting out of this. Okay, or maybe you've been out for a couple of years. Your legs are not strong in this business. You're just getting ready to start. You don't have any business, assuming that you do not have any business acumen, assuming that even if you do have the business acumen, you haven't tested this thing.
True.
Jermaine, the truth is, like, clear in your head about how you're going to be able to pay back that money. It's not a good idea.
It's not, right?
Yeah.
So it's better you just start small with whatever you have.
And scale. Be sure that this money, what you're doing, will be able to pay back this loan. And then based on that, you're in a better place to be able to take money to maybe grow it to the next phase.
Now, what happened to some individuals like widows who are a bit confused? They're in this business, this business, this business, this business, running all three. How do you create, how can she create that balance or that growth?
It's a tough one. It's a tough one. And the truth is that what grief does is that most of the time it makes us fear, so we just want to do what we can. A lot of women, a lot of widows, what you will hear most from their mouth is, I don't want my children to suffer. I don't want the standards their father gave them to drop, right? And so to be able to keep this up, they take on way more than they can. I beg to say, I am sure that there's no business that cannot succeed. Sure. That's the power of focus. Focus helps to concentrate the energy, because here she is, she's a mom, she's probably working, she's attending to other things, she has a lot more to deal with, right? And so all of that is taking your attention as a woman, and then you then add 3 side hustles or 3 businesses to it. It would be nice to take 1, maybe 2 max, and just focus all of your energy. Let's take, for example, someone is doing wigs and doing wrappers at the same time. A tendency that you need 2 different sets of customers, right?
How does she juggle all of this? And she's not really good at business when it comes to all of this. She's career oriented and all of that. How does she navigate to get that growth after grief?
That's a good question, Jumai, because truly it's not everyone that is a business person, right? Yeah, some people just prefer to do their 9 to 5, do their jobs. The important thing is to look at the qualifications that you have, right? And then see, for this kind of person, maybe it's someone who it could be at any level, really. Maybe you weren't doing anything, now you want to start to do something.
Exactly.
It's to build yourself up to be ready to be paid the amount of money that you feel